Hello and welcome to today's episode of Trib Talk. My name is Taylor Stevens. I'm a government and politics reporter at the Salt Lake Tribune. On today's show, we'll be talking about child care facility closures related to COVID-19 cases. With us today is Simone Bolivar, Administrator of Child Care Licensing at the Utah Department of Health. Welcome, Simone.
Thank you.
And we also have Karla Pardini, who is the Director of Programming at the I, J, and Jeanné Wagner Jewish Community Center. And Karla, you told me I was saying that wrong, but I can't remember how to say it right.
It's the IJ and Jeanné Wagner Jewish Community Center.
Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned, we'll be speaking today about child care facility closures. We had, as of the time we reported this story, seen 57 child care facilities that had reported positive coronavirus cases across the state, and collectively had 83 positive diagnoses. And we found that there was a wide range of responses from child care facilities to these positive cases. Some closed for a few weeks, others closed for a day or two, some didn't close at all. And Karla, I think we'll begin with you. You had a few positive cases, I believe, at your facility. Could you kind of talk us through how you made the decision to close, which I believe predated your cases, but what went into that calculation and kind of how COVID has changed childcare at your facility?
Yes, but we were lucky. We did not have any cases of COVID-19 in young children at all. And actually our closure took place the weekend that the governor closed the schools, middle of March. We ended up, I think it was March 13th, we ended up deciding to close. And our reasoning at that point was, I think maybe not realizing that that was going to close us and put us in a different situation later on, but we closed because we knew that we had an employee that had been tested or was trying to get tested for COVID. So we knew we had an employee in question. We knew that the schools had been closed, and so we closed down, thinking to ourselves it would be a 1 to 2 week period. Things would get washed out. We'd figure this out. It didn't feel like it, at that point it was long term. We have at the Jewish Community Center 3 licensed facilities. We have a early childhood center. We have a youth program, which is our after school programs, our summer camps, things like that. And we also had a infant and child hourly child care center, which was a drop-in for our facility. As I mentioned to you, Taylor, we're not just a school. We have a gym, a fitness center, a pool. We're much larger. We do community classes, concerts, lectures. So we were a big facility that had to look at a lot of different aspects. So when that teacher came down with COVID, we decided to close. Well, then reopening became a bigger challenge. And our entire center had to stay closed up until the middle of May. May 18th, we reopened.
How many months was that you were closed?
How many months? That was 2 full months that we were closed. Our child care center was closed. Our gym and fitness, everything was closed. We opened up on a small basis. We have a 9-month program and then a 3-month summer program. And we ended up closing our 9-month program for the school year. Refunded or credited families back their tuition. And then we had our summer camp to look at, which we were completely full. It was probably our best and most successful year we'd had for a very long time. And we were full and we had to cancel all those registrations, which was about 400 registrations, give families their credit or refund. And then we opened up a very small situation called our summer care. And we have about 40 children in the early childhood summer care and about 40 children in our youth summer care. And frankly, we were scared to death to do it. It seemed overwhelming. It seemed like, oh no, we're all gonna get COVID. This is gonna be really hard. And frankly, we just all looked at it, studied it, and all the teachers that are doing it, we haven't had any cases of COVID, and I'm gonna knock on wood. But we realized that we may, and we probably will get them once children get together and, the weather gets colder. We realize we may be faced with that. But this summer has been very successful. We have, of course, put in a lot of procedures.
Yeah, talk through some of the precautions that you're taking as
okay. Yes, it's different. We had to look at smaller ratios for sure. So we took a look at smaller ratios, not more teachers in a room, but 2 teachers in each room, smaller ratios. We have a health screening every morning. The children's parents can do that on a Google form on their way to work on the phone, or they can do it in person when they get here. We take the children's temperature every day. We take all of our employees' temperature and health screen them as well. And we look for those important things like, the cough, the muscle aches, the taste and smell, do you have trouble breathing? Those types of things are the questions we ask. Have you been around anybody that has COVID? Have you traveled outside of the state of Utah? And if they have, we ask them to stay out for 14 days. And we make sure that they know that up front. So those are some of the precautions. We deep clean the rooms every single day. I don't really know what it's called, but it's like the Ghostbusters. It's the fogger, and they fog the room each night. They wash their hands consistently. They are trying to teach children how to socially distance, which is really fun to watch how they come up with great ideas. My favorite one is the hula hoop, where they carry the hula hoop around with them. And when they bump into each other, they realize that's far enough. And then, they'll get to a table and they'll drop their hula hoop and do a puzzle. Then they'll pick up their hula hoop and walk around. And so they've had fun doing it. We encourage them to wear masks. Our staff wear masks. The children, some of the older children will for sure. The younger ones have more difficulty doing that, but they attempt it. They're trying. We go outside more often. We get them outside, and we've done a lot of training with our staff. And I think it's paid off this summer. It's been an excellent summer. Parents are very happy. Children are very happy. The masks really aren't bothering them. They're happy to try them on. We make them wear them as we walk through our building, and we're with a lot of other people. And it's been very successful. It surprised us really how successful it has been.
In speaking to some of the other child care facilities, we talked to a few who mentioned that they wish they'd had stronger guidance from the state health department as far as whether they should close, whether they shouldn't close, some confusion about that. And Karla, you mentioned that you felt you had good guidance from the state health department, but you did have some questions from parents, right, who were a little confused. Can you tell us about those conversations?
Well, I did feel like we had good guidance, and I felt like we had a good resource. So my licensor that helped us license all 3 of these facilities here took my call every day. I'd call her every day with a new question, and I'd leave her a message. She'd call me back. She was excellent. Alicia Griffin was excellent with us, and she helped me understand the things that I was questioning. And the parents are really questioning that too. They really want an answer. They want to know what the plan is. They're not so comfortable when you say, well, we're going to have to wait and see what the situation is. They want to know what's going to happen if you get a COVID-19 case. And that's just variable, because when the child was here, who they exposed, where they were they down by the pool? Maybe they never did anything but walk in one room. Do we have to close for 1 day? Do we have to close for 5 days? It will vary. And parents are getting used to that answer for us. Just be flexible. Please trust us. We will do what we are told to do and that we feel that is safe. We're not going to just make up rules. We'll abide by what the Department of Health suggests for us and trust us that we'll do that. And I think they really are starting to trust us. And in fact, we're starting now a new preschool because we're 9 months and then we're 3 months summer. Our summer is ending. Our school is starting in September. And we are having the teachers who work this summer train the teachers that are coming back, because they're much more cautious now. And our teachers really know how to talk to parents, know how to give them reassurance even when we don't know the answer, and just tell them that we will do our best and we will take the guidance from the Department of Health. And they've been great with us, just awesome.
This feels like a good time to bring in Simone Bolivar with the Utah Department of Health, Administrator of Child Care Licensing over there. And Simone, this conversation around why some places close, how long they close, why others don't, why does the state take in the approach that it has as far as deciding whether, kind of taking a step back and letting child care facilities really kind of work through this process? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Of course, thank you. And I think that Karla presented a perfect example of how providers can choose by themselves to close. We are not telling everyone to close. We are encouraging providers to stay open because, of course, we need childcare services, and we have employees who are required to have childcare services to be able to work. However, the situations are totally different from case to case. We cannot just extend one single rule that will apply to everyone. As Karla expressed, sometimes a child might be exposed, but that child might be cared for in a single classroom and not expose everyone in the whole facility. So there is no need for the whole facility to close if that child has been in one single room. Sometimes it has been not a confirmed case, but just an exposure, a possibility of a case. So we don't require the provider to close if that's the case until the case is being confirmed. And in other situations, providers have closed because they are afraid they will have an outbreak and they don't want to face that situation. Some other providers have closed because their employees are afraid to contract the illness and they don't go to work. So the providers cannot provide childcare because they don't have enough staff to provide childcare. Some other providers have a confirmed case, and our instruction, which is exactly the same for everyone, is contact your local health department and follow their instructions. Depending on the different circumstances, their local health department may give them different instructions. As Karla said, some might be asked to close for the day, and because they are following strict conditions in their facility, so they clean, disinfect, sanitize, and they are ready to continue providing services the next day. Some of them are required to close for a week or for 14 days. It all depends on what their individual circumstances are. So there is no way to say, okay, everyone that has an exposure or a positive case has to close for 14 days, because we all are facing the same situation, which is COVID-19, but we're facing the situation in different circumstances, and facilities work in different ways. If, for example, there is a home provider, because Karla is from centers, but we also have home providers, and if the single provider, the person that provides care for the whole facility, is either exposed or sick or afraid and decides not to provide care at that time, the whole facility will have to close. Now, if it was just because of being scared, that person can remain closed for as long as they consider necessary until they feel safe again. If it was because of an exposure, the local health department will tell them, okay, what type of exposure it was and what precautions they need to put in place to make sure that there is a confirmation before they make take any other step. Or if it is a positive case, then the local health department will tell them, okay, who was the person with the positive case? Was a child in care? Was it an employee? Was it a household member? Was a caregiver? And depending on the circumstances, the instructions may vary. Look, there are facilities that provide care in the basement, for example. And if it is a household member that lives upstairs and never gets in contact with the children, the local health department might tell them, okay, make sure that this individual is isolated, never contacts anyone in the facility, never moves around anywhere where childcare is provided, and then you don't have to close. So those are just examples on why we have a different range of closures and who closes and who doesn't.
What would you say to some of those facilities that have raised concerns, saying they don't feel they got enough guidance, or that they wished that there were some more hard and fast rules from the health department as to whether they were open or closed?
Right. Again, the main point, as Karla mentioned, is trust. There is no way, we don't have the manpower to be at every facility every single day to make sure that providers do what they need to do. And up to this point, we have seen providers taking a very positive way on approaching this illness. We have given them strict restrictions. Yes, we have given them guidance. We post information and we gave them certain instructions to follow, general instructions. And we said, for example, you need to do screening for every employee, for every child that comes into your facility. If there is a positive case, you need to contact your local health department and close if you are required to. You are to clean and sanitize every day certain surfaces that, in addition to what they were required to do by the rules, they are to do now. They are also to disinfect and sanitize at a certain times of the day. And we have given them, in addition to these instructions, we have given them other technical assistance recommendations to make sure that they are safe. What happens is that when they contact their local health department, if they don't contact them with good information, if they say, well, because this has happened to me, I get phone calls every single day from people saying, okay, I have a friend who went to Arizona and went to a party where one of my employees also went, and I think that my employee was exposed. What should I do? And so every case that we get is very different and has different circumstances, and we cannot say to everyone, okay, close until that employee is tested, or only if that employee is tested positive. So what we normally do is, okay, check everyone, screen everyone before they access your facility, and make sure that if anyone shows any of the 6 symptoms that we're asking providers to screen for, they are not admitted in childcare.
We have a question from someone on Facebook. They're wondering where they can find data on COVID-19 outbreaks, specifically at Utah Child Care Centers. Can you point them in the right direction, Simone?
Sure. We actually produce a daily report, and it's called COVID-19 Temporary Closure Report. And it is on our website at childcarelicensing.utah.gov. So childcare licensing, one word, .utah.gov. On our front page, you will see different reports, and one of them is called COVID-19 Temporary Closures. And it tells you the number of facilities that have closed from the beginning, from March up to this point, how many facilities have reopened, and it is divided by facility types. You can see centers, exempt facilities, home facilities, and so that's the report that you can follow. The state on the coronavirus.utah.gov also has reports not only for childcare facilities, but also for any other type of facility. So those two are important places where you can go and see information. But in addition to that, you're welcome to call us, and we'll be happy to give you any information you are requiring.
What's the number they should call you at, Simone?
Well, our website has our contact information, and I never memorize our phone number, but in a second I'll give you that phone number, okay?
Yeah, while you look for that. Karla, I think it might be worth talking a little bit about the importance of child care facilities during this time when, schools closed in March. We're getting ready to go back to school, but with schools closed and some people having to go to work, not having the luxury or ability to work from home, and some people, even if they do, not being able to do childcare at the same time. What's the importance of having childcare facilities open right now, and what are you hearing from parents about that?
Well, we have two sides. We have the parents that are afraid. We've had quite a few children drop for our enrollment for the upcoming year. And then we have the parents that really have to work, and maybe they're on the front lines themselves, doctors, nurses, technicians. I mean, we have a lot of people that work at BioFire working on, labs and the testing and all of that. I mean, it's important. Working in the economy is so important to a successful family. And what we've noticed this summer is the children are so happy to be back together. They need that social, emotional piece that makes them grow. I mean, being home with your mom and dad for a couple months is really fun, and that's fine. I'm concerned about the closure of schools ongoing. I hope that we can find a nice balance where their exposure is at, a lower risk, but that they also get some of the social, emotional needs met. And of course, that doesn't mean at any risk. That's masks, social distancing, health checks, health screening. I feel pretty safe being here at the center because every single person that is in this center hasn't traveled out of the state of Utah. They're not sick. They're healthy. They don't have a temperature. It's probably way safer than being at the grocery store, right? Or way safer than wherever they don't do a health check. And we're pretty strict about those rules, but parents understand why. They've been accepting of it. And as I've talked to people in the public system and the schools as they're getting ready to make their decisions to go back, I feel like the teachers could really benefit from some really good training. I feel like that's what has helped us. Our licensing standards have always helped us set a standard that might even be above what you might think as a school teacher in the public system. When I've talked to them, they've been like, oh, you have to ask those 6 questions. Oh, you have to, exclude them after 14 days. I mean, it would really benefit all teachers to go through some really good training before those students come back in their world. And I think they need to at some point. It needs to be a nice balance while we're trying to live through this outbreak.
Now, in some ways, this conversation, mirrors the school conversation a lot. We spoke to some parents who were trying to make those calculations of whether to send their child to daycare, whether to keep them home. One woman that we spoke to talked about getting up at 3 a.m. to try to get some work done before her son would wake up, her 1-year-old son. And she just said it was unsustainable for her to try and work in the home at the same time she tried to provide childcare to her son. And we do know from research that a lot of that work disproportionately falls on women. So it's a tough, I think, decision for a lot of parents, as much as it's a tough decision for some of these childcare facilities in determining whether they're going to stay open or not. Simone, anything to add to this conversation about what you're hearing from parents or kind of the necessity of having childcare at this time?
Amen. So a couple of things. Essential employees, we have not closed facilities since the outbreak of COVID-19, right? So there is a lot that we have learned. When we started describing who the essential employees are, many parents started saying, well, I am essential too. Because we have a definition for essential employees, but in reality, almost everyone is essential in certain ways for the economy to keep moving. So every parent will find a reason, and it's a true reason for them to be essential, so they need childcare. In addition to that, there are parents, your example was of a parent with one child. We have many parents with multiple ages of children, and that becomes a huge challenge for the parents because parents need to be everything, but they cannot do it all. And childcare is a huge help for not only children's development, but also for families to stay safe and to be sane. It is good, as Karla said, for a parent to be with their child for a certain number of hours or number of days, but then it becomes a time in which the child needs the social interaction with their peers, the teachings and the learning that they get from the school setting and from childcare to get the basis they will need for the rest of their lives. Something that we cannot give them sometimes at home, unless home is set up in a way that you are ready to do homeschooling and you have all the tools and all the training and all the knowledge to do it. But not every family in Utah likes doing that, is prepared to do that, or is willing to do that. So childcare will continue to be essential. Since the beginning, we decided not to close childcare because it is an essential service, not only for the children's development, but for the families in general.
And Simone, I was just going to add that it's hard to set up that group environment at your home. It's really easy for you as a parent to share, but it's not so easy in a classroom for your friends to share or to listen to you or to give you everything you need. And you have to learn how to listen and play and initiate conversations and be a person in that group. That is hard to duplicate unless you're in an environment where that's taking place. Home just is, you can still learn to read and you can probably learn some math facts and you can learn all the cognitive skills, but it's tough to learn the emotional group setting kinds of skills you need to be part of this society. And I feel like we just don't want to make this go on for such a long time that children miss these milestones.
Yeah, we want to give parents choices, right? I don't want a society in which we are forced to go one single direction. I don't want everyone to be homeschooled because not everyone is prepared to do homeschooling. I don't want everyone to be forced to do childcare because not everyone likes or wants to do childcare. But I want families to have options so they can continue to live their lives in a less stressful situation. So that's why we keep childcare open and options for parents as well.
Now, I think it's probably important that we talk about, the significance of having a COVID-19 case within a child care facility. We've been seeing research coming in and changing as we know more about this virus, about how children are affected, how they spread the coronavirus. And I think that there are some people who might say, well, children don't seem to have as negative of health effects as a result of the coronavirus. So, maybe it's not a big deal that they have a COVID-19 case within a facility. But we know that there are some impacts of that, right? And I don't know which of you would like to speak to that. Maybe the health department has the better perspective on that. But, why is it important if there are children who are testing positive? What are the potential ramifications of that?
Well, we want people to know that children get sick. So people thinking that children don't get sick are wrong. In addition, children are carriers of the illness. So they can get sick, and they can get side effects, and they can get other people also the illness if they are carriers. It is true that their symptoms might be mild, not as hard as they are for other risk ages, but children do get sick. So it is important to take care of them, to do hand washing, to do all the cleaning, disinfecting, sanitizing. It is important also for people to be very well educated on how to use cleaning, disinfecting, and sanitizing practices, because we've seen children getting sick because of the misuse of these products. Some people mix disinfectants and sanitizers and leave residue or create fumes that affect children's health in other ways, not only COVID-19. It is important for providers and parents also to be educated on the symptoms, because children continue to get sick of other things. COVID-19 is not the only illness that exists. Children continue to teeth and to grow new teeth, and they continue to have fevers and continue to have allergies and many other illnesses, and parents need to continue to be educated. It is true that we don't know everything about COVID-19, but it is a real illness for which we know how to prepare for. We don't know all the answers, but we know how to clean, disinfect, sanitize, look for symptoms, and isolate individuals who are positive. That is important to follow. Is not good to ignore it. It is real, but if we take the proper measures, we'll continue to move through it. We've done it since March, and it's been very successful. As Karla said, we don't know when we might be exposed, or if we have been exposed because of the situation of the illness. But if we continue to take care of our health, mental health, physical health, social health, and facility health, we will be more successful in conquering this situation.
I think we've answered this question, but we have a question from Twitter. This person says, a month ago, a healthcare provider in my circle told me that children can't pass COVID-19 to another person. Is that true? And I just want to hit that point again, Simone, if we could.
Yeah, again, children can pass it, yes. And that's one of the fears that people have with school coming back in session, because they think, okay, children might not feel the symptoms as much as other adult populations might feel, but they do have they can have the virus, and they can transport it with them and get other people the virus. That's why we ask for children, when they come, any individual, when they come from the outdoors, to wash their hands, to be careful, to keep the social distance, for all their children to wear masks and to learn all these practices. That is our new way of life. For infants and toddlers, for smaller children, perhaps they are not able to wear a mask all the time, but there are also some other practices that we can teach them and get them used to. For example, washing of hands. And when they share toys and things like that, there has to be a caregiver that is around to make sure that those shared toys get cleaned and sanitized every time a child uses it or puts the toy in their mouths. So I'm sorry, but to answer the question, yes, children can transmit the virus to another person as well.
As we close out this conversation, I want to ask both of you kind of what your takeaways are. It's been a whirlwind few months, but heading into the next few months, what are your major takeaways as far as child care facilities, and what do you want parents or the public to know moving forward? Maybe Karla, you can start.
Yeah, I would just like to say that we are here to help families learn and grow together and go through this crisis together. I think our focus will change, and we'll still do some of the same things we have in the past with parenting classes and whatnot, but we really are here to help them deal with this crisis. It's a lot for parents to handle. It's a lot for the economy to handle and businesses to handle and schools. And we're here to help each other and be in this together. And we're determined to be open when we can be. We'll close if we have to, but we'll reopen as soon as we can.
Simone, anything you want to share?
Yes. So I want parents to know that childcare providers are doing a fantastic job. They are doing their best to stay safe and to keep those children protected. We know that. And parents are also doing great because we have a responsibility to help parents to have childcare facilities that are healthy and safe. They're contacting us, asking questions. Keep asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask. No one knows all the answers, but at least we know a little bit and we can help you, and together we can learn. So keep asking questions.
That's all the time we have. Simone and Karla, thank you so much for joining us. You can find this reporting and other reporting on the coronavirus at sltrib.com. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.